Thanks for tuning into the Texas Scratch King channel. In this video you will hear about Ruff Stuff's Champion X. Let us begin. X was born on the October 17, 1904. From DGK's Champion Duchess, three-time winner. One-time lose in DGK's imported male from Tom Garner's yard called Tudor Imp. This was the only breeding ever done with Champion Duchess. He was raised on the yard of DGK with his litter mates DD, one-time winner. Champion Star, three-time winner, and Delta, who is a very hard-tested game dog. Before we go on, let's look at the background of this warrior. He comes from long line of successful competition dogs that has succeeded all over the globe. His dam Champion Duchess comes from one of the most successful litters to date in our little country. Her litter mates are the dead game Champion Dylan, a four-time winner, one-time game lose, and Champion Dolly, who is also a four-time winner, one-time game lose. Their sire being the all-time greatest Register of Merit producer in South Africa. And also the best producing son of Garner's Frisco Register of Merit Garner and TTK's Brute Register of Merit aka Scar. Their mother is also a Register of Merit female. Garner and DGK's Babe Register of Merit. He was sent down to the Cape of Storms to Bolo. On the condition that he hooks quietly into Countdown, who at the time was avoiding a match into X. X's true breeding had to be hidden due to the fact that Countdown's crew was not having any interest in meeting the dog who was out of Duchess and Tudor. It was claimed that he was bred Big Red, one-time lose, X Muffin, one-time winner. Basically bred dogs to make them bite. Yet the opposing crew were having none of it, as they had yet to beat Bolo, who had a very good record against them. Due to them not being interested, Bolo was forced to look elsewhere for some action. It was said that the Countdown crew would only meet X once he got some more wins behind his name. The Countdown crew had settled the show already into an easier opponent, who we later learned was a one-time loser in 13 minutes. But was also a setup so that Countdown could reach his grand championship status. But that's another can of worms altogether. Subsequently, after X's first win in 23 minutes up in the north, 3 months after X was settled in down in the south, finally something was found. He was called No Name. He was off local yellow breeding and apparently the litter brother to one-time winner David, who had beaten one that many had thought unbeatable. Weight was set at 23 kilograms, all things agreed, and a date was set. 6 weeks and many hours later, and it was show time. X took to his keep very well. He proved to be a very hard worker and also keen to tackle the task at hand. There were no complications with his keep and his weight was near perfect, being off by 200 grams but looking like a machine, and proved to be a well-oiled one at that too. Both dogs on weight, and it was time to play. Dogs meet hard in the middle. X going for the front end and No Name hitting the front as well. X moves to his favored face hold and No Name screams. It stays like this for about 9 minutes with X on the face and No Name pushing for a hold. A turn is called on No Name at 10 minutes. But the handlers have to wait for a good clean handle. First scratch is at 13 minutes with No Name making an unconvincing scratch. Handle is then made again and X going hard and true, and show goes back to the way it started. X on the face. No Name driving for a hold. At 25 minutes a handle is made and No Name stands the line, making X a two-time winner in 25 minutes. After X is heeled up and rearing to go, which was 2 weeks later. An appeal is made to the crew of Countdown, and with them still running, as the owner of Countdown witnessed what he had done to No Name. After the refusal, Bolo told them to find another opponent, as they were now claiming to only want to converse with a champion. During this time that they were looking for X's next meal, contact was made with X's original owner to challenge dog who was bred Champion Duchess X Tudor. Not knowing that they had witnessed firsthand the real X. He was then sent back up country thinking that the show was going to take place, but alas, the bullshit started again from the Countdown crew, opting for what they thought would be another easy one. Meeting Jeep and a novice who was 1 kilogram lighter but proved to be Countdown's hardest showing before he met X. So as it is, things turned out X's pre-keep was wasted. And he had to be sent back to the Cape of Storms looking and waiting for his next challenge, which came from Apple Max Jr. Jr.'s breeding was never revealed. This proved to be X's longest showing at 2 hours 42 minutes. With X not showing his usual face style but show boating and playing around with Jr., who never seemed to realize he was getting whipped but did what most do, standing the line in the end. Now here's just a little side note for this challenge. X only had a 4-week keep due to traveling problems. They were washed and weighed. Everyone was happy. X was playing around with Jr. going along for the ride, but doing his usual damage from time to time. This was the first time that Mr. Ruff saw X hit the bottom side of an opponent's stifle, shoulders and legs. Jr. eventually stands the line in 2 hours 42 minutes. making X a champion and up to standard for the now Grand Champion countdown. Which didn't make sense as all the countdown's opponents were not near any championship level during X's appeal for a show. X is now a champion and countdown is a grand champion and the stage was to be set for a colossal meeting of two of the greatest dogs at their weight in our country. But they opted out once again for an easier opponent to get him to the same status as his grandfather. True Blood's grand champion Sir Thomas, a 7-time winner, producer of record. His opponent was a 1-time winner and a 1-time lose, who had quit in his second showing, and this was known to all who was in show scene. And if you didn't know, then you must have been a Countdown fan. Countdown is now a 7-time winner and X is still kept waiting for 6 months before the great battle that ended in a war. After a few months of negotiations and renegotiations, as no agreement could be set, it seemed the pressure was too much for Countdown's crew to handle, as it was coming from all sides and avoiding it now would just be running, which ultimately would be bad for his reputation and ego. Everything is finally settled and Champion X enters a grueling and intense 3-month keep. With the help of T and L Man, as all three had an apple to peel with Count's owner. The keep goes well up until the last week when an injury to his left shoulder was found 4 days out, leaving Bolo stunned as he was in pretty good shape morning before his evening workout when it was discovered. 2 days later, a substantial amount of animal fat was found in his kennel run. To this day no one knows how it got there or where it came from. We suspect X might have killed a sheep then dragged it into his kennel. Because of the fat, X's finishing had to be changed due to the extra weight picked he up. He was deprived of his full last meal the night before the fight and also had to be worked to get the weight off despite his injury sustained. Finally, the much anticipated show night arrives. And X is not 100% due to the shoulder injury, but because of the good keep he had, Bolo and company were confident. At least enough to not pay forfeit, as they had been waiting for this day for what seemed forever. Both dogs were weighed and washed. Countdown weight 22.95 kilograms and X weighing 23 kilograms, being 100 grams over the agreed weight. This being a gentleman's sport. Forfeit was offered but refused as Countdown's handlers opted to rehydrate before release. And Bolo was to accept any weight increase in the count, as in his own words he had dehydrated Countdown to make weight. With all due respect, it was a stupid move from a very experienced dogman. Which just proves that he does and will crack under pressure. During the show many comments were flying around from spectators and those ultimately involved in this great contest between these two great heavyweights. At one stage Bolo, who had lost all confidence in X during the first 20 minutes, as he was getting nailed by the more experienced and hard-mouthed grand champion. They shouted, "This is a cack dog and if he doesn't quit, he will be sent back to where he came from." Not knowing that X had a plan and that there was method in all his madness. He took all Countdown had to give and then some. Taming the beast with his famous face holds and trying to stay out of trouble. Many that had witnessed this encounter still say to this day that Champion X is a cack dog because of his style, but that suits him just fine. Proving that in all this madness, gameness can still be king. Even after taking a grueling punishment from the hard-mouthed grand champion, who had taken out both his shoulders in fairly short order. Time goes by so slowly with the scenario playing out exactly the same, but with Count's handler continuously asking for a scratch to continue and to check Fangs to give Countdown a break. Of course, being the man that Bolo is, the scratch to continue was refused, but the check for Fangs being allowed by a very non-biased referee. A moment that stands out in this encounter is during a Fang check at 1 hour 47 minutes. It was noticed by Bolo and a few others that Countdown sat between his handler's legs with no restraints or intention to proceed as hoped by so many. Shortly after, Bolo made it known to everyone in attendance as to what happened. He then handled on the immediate request of Countdown's handler to scratch to continue, which was accepted by all parties concerned. Countdown's turn to scratch, but he failed to do so, sitting the line on his haunches. At 1 hour 52 minutes, making X a 4-time winner and Countdown a champion 7-time winner and 1-time lose. First, X versus Jerry. 23 minutes. Jerry later becomes champion. Jerry second. X versus No Name. 25 minutes. Third, X versus Junior. 2 hours 42 minutes. Fourth, X versus Grand Champion. Countdown. 7-time winner. 1 hour 52 minutes. Thanks again for listening to the Texas Scratch King channel. Please don't forget to subscribe, like and share the video. Until the next time, my friends. As we always say, never submit to life and keep scratching every time.